Hey everyone, in this video we're going to be talking about line graphs. So we're going to be talking about what is a line graph, when should we use line graphs, and then how can we create them with Google Sheets. So you can see, just to start, we can use really any set of data. I have just a set of weather data from Ottawa, Ontario up here that I'm going to use, but really any kind of appropriate data would work. And that kind of leads us to our first point. So line graphs are probably your choice if you have what we call continuous data. So you can kind of subdivide the data and see points in between. And we really use it to track changes over time often. So for example, if I wanted to maybe look at what was the low, high, and mean temperature over a period of time, I wanted to look at how that fluctuates over time, a line graph is going to be the appropriate choice. We're going to have further videos about other types of graphs and when to kind of use those. But yeah, line graph, generally when you have this continuous data and you want to show something happening or changing over time. So with that, we'll get right into it. So I'm going to be working out of Google Sheets. You could work similarly out of a program like Excel, but we're often, a lot of you are working on Chromebooks. We'll be focusing on the Sheets solution for today. So you can see I have my data table here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a separate tab to kind of have my graph in, so I'm not getting too cluttered here. So I'm going to go down here and just add another sheet, and I'll just call this. I can rename it by right-clicking on it, and I can rename it to something like line graph. So to make a graph, now there's a number of ways to do this. I'm going to show you one way here. So we could go and insert a chart. There's also a button here, right here, so insert a chart. So I'm going to click insert chart. Now I can select the data and Google will kind of suggest a chart for me, or I can kind of right away pick my chart type, and that's going to be a line chart. The big thing I'm going to need here is data. So I can either add it with a data range like this, or I can add my X and my series independently. And I'll do the second way. So I'll add the X and the data independently. So my X-axis is going to be normally time. So I'm going to add X-axis. It's going to ask for a data range. Now I can just click back over to my data, and here we go. So I want the date, and I'm just going to drag down. I'm going to go all the way from September 21st to the end of the year, December 31st. So there's my X-axis. Now I can also add series. So I'm going to add series, select data range, and I'm going to come back here. So I'm going to add my series, and let's show low, high, and mean for this graph. So I'm going to have multiple lines on my graph. Again, I'm just going to drag down through the end of the year. Oh, and this one is asking me for individual ranges. So I'll do them one at a time here. So here's, I think that's low. And right there, I mean, there's the start of our line graph. You could see what happens with the temperature. Now I can add another series, and it's going to be the high. So there we have the highs, and let's go ahead and add the means. The exact same way. Okay. So there we go. So right away, we're almost done, really. We're just going to do some fine-tuning here, but this is what the line graph looks like. We can see over time, obviously the high temperature is the highest, the low is the lowest, and the mean is somewhere in the middle. Google kind of automatically picked these colors for us. We can change that. I'm going to show you how to kind of customize things throughout, but this is a really good start. Yeah. So just kind of taking a look here, a couple options. We could do things like aggregate. Now we don't really want to, but that's an option here. Our big thing next, our next kind of step is once we have the data in, we've decided that a line graph is the appropriate choice. We're going to try to customize it. So I'm just going to walk through each of these really quickly. Chart style. I could change the way this looks. Now, normally we want to keep it on a white background, especially if you're printing. But if we kind of want to get cute with this thing and maybe change it. Maybe we want to have a black background. We're gonna have to change text and everything, but if we want to change the color, we can do that here. But again, generally we stick with a white background for readability. We can change our font, we can change the borders. Couple things we can do here. Notice this is a line graph, so it would kind of have points. If I want to smooth this out a bit, I could hit smooth. Again, generally we do not, but this is an option. And maximize is going to kind of maximize the area here. Now, again, we generally do not do that. So that's the setup. So again, we're kind of boring here. We didn't do a lot with the style. Now, chart and axis titles, we will use these. So a chart title, we often like to name our chart. So I might say temperature in Ottawa, Ontario for my title. Okay, so you can see it go right here. Now, maybe I want to center that. There we go. This is now centered. I can change the text or the color and everything, but I'm happy with that. Now we can also get the axis, and this is crucial that we label our axes. So horizontal axis, that's showing the dates. You see October through December. We want to give a title, and I'm just going to say really simply date. And there we go. So that just popped up right there. And vertical axis. This is our temperature, and it's in degrees Celsius. So temperature in Celsius. And there we go. You just see it popped up on the side there. And again, that's pretty much it for titles. We could do a subtitle. We're not going to do it here. So series. Now I could do something for all series, or I can kind of change it. So like let's say mean. Maybe I didn't like the color yellow. Maybe I want to make the mean temperature green. There we go, and it's green. I can change the dash. Maybe I want to make it a dotted line like that. Doesn't matter. I'm going to go back. I can change. Maybe I want to make it diamonds instead. But I'm just going to undo that. But this is where we're at. Okay. Legend. Now we're going to want a legend here, so to tell us what each color means. And again, maybe we wanted to change that to like different shapes or different line styles, especially if we weren't printing in color. That'd be nice to do. I'm going to stay in color here. But legend, Google will pick a position for it. I often want to put it on the right. Now, the problem here is I don't like how that kind of makes this look. Now, I could change this to have it on the right. I just feel like I've kind of compressed my graph a little too much with on the right. So I might go ahead and put it on the bottom maybe. See how that looks. And I don't mind that. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to leave it there. Again, we could move it. The big point is that we do have a legend to tell us, to let the reader kind of differentiate between these colors. Then for the axes, I can kind of label. So I could put my labels on a slant if I want. That's fine. I don't have to do that though. I could, if I wanted, this doesn't make a lot of sense with time, but if I wanted to kind of show from like most recent to most distant past, I could show that. Now that's kind of confusing if you read it though, so I'm not going to do that. But there's options here. Vertical axis. Now this is where also I can kind of control this. So see how it set my minimum temperature to -20, my maximum temperature to 30. I can go ahead and change that. So I can say maybe I do want my min temperature to be -20, but maybe I only want my max to be +25. So I can make it look like that. Yeah. Scale factor. I don't want that. Number format from source data. There we go. So that's pretty good. And then I can also change, here it is. So I can change what this goes up by. So you can see right now I'm kind of going up by 5. So that's pretty nice. So you can see I'm using a step of 5. I can make that step 10, right? So if I only want to go up by 10 degrees, I can make it 2 if I want to go up every 2 degrees. Now, I'm looking for a number that kind of shows my data accurately without being overwhelming. This is kind of overwhelming looking at this. So I liked 5. I think 5 is nice. And then I could, if I wanted to put a middle count in, so maybe if I did 10, and then I could do a a smaller minor count of 5. So you can see these kind of light lines going at the 5s. And that'd be fine. So either way, now I could also just take that out and go back to 5. Doesn't matter. And there we go. So there's our graph. And that's pretty much it. So that's a line graph. Take a look, try your own. Again, in conclusion, it's quite easy with Google Sheets, and you're making sure you have all these kind of key aspects. The last thing I will actually kind of say is if you ever want to edit something, you can go through the customization, or you can just kind of double click. So let's say I want to change my title. I can just double click on the title. It's going to take me right there. All right. Thanks for watching.